Hi everybody, it's Miss Elsmore. I was going to introduce to you the environmental impacts of your cell phone project and how we're going to research where those elements come from to make our cell phones and the impact to our environment along the way. This is in preparation for Earth Day next week. So how we're going to start is, in particular, we're going to at cell phones because, yes, they get thrown away all the time. And do they really get recycled? Those are kind of some bigger questions we want to ask. So there are many elements that go into making our cell phones. In this picture here, it's showing you what those different elements are used for. Some of these are funny names that maybe you didn't see on the periodic table when we learned about that earlier, like neodymium magnets or europium in the screens. These are examples of what are called rare earth elements. They're not necessarily rare, but they are specialized to do particular things. All of these, of course, are mined from the Earth's crust and have to be processed to turn into a usable form. On this next image, this is maybe showing you some more familiar elements. So aluminum and silica in the glass screen, nickel and copper for your wiring. What our goal is to choose one of these elements. So from those past two slides, and you're going to basically research where does that material come from, how do we process it, and how do we turn it to a usable form. And all along the way, we're going to see environmental impacts that you're going to describe. So when we talk about those steps that an element goes through in terms of being processed and turned into a usable form, like you guys saw in the cobalt mining article, a lot of those metals and materials are mined from Earth's surface or Earth's crust, dug up with big machines, but that material or metal ore has to then be separated and typically purified to make it into a form that we would use to mix in with other metals or make into electronic components. This is showing you a picture of a car, and notice that all these lines kind of go from one step to another until the very end where it shows recycling. So that shortens this whole loop because then we don't have to dig more material out of Earth's crust. Instead, we're just reusing those materials. But no matter what, all along the way, we're using tons of energy, producing a lot of air pollution and water pollution along the way to produce these products. And that's kind of what we want to be aware of because we don't really see that, and we should know about it. This is another diagram showing just kind of in a few specific steps of what it takes to take out these natural resources from Earth's crust. And yes, there's a lot of disturbed land in terms of mining. There's a lot of air pollution that goes along the way when we produce our different products. So when you're thinking about the one element you're researching for this that goes into your cell phone, we want to figure out where that element comes from. How is it extracted or dug up? How is it processed? And does it end up in the landfill? Lots of elements do. Some metals can be easily recycled, and you'd want to be able to find that out and tell us about it. This picture is showing you an e-waste facility. And yes, some of those components can then be melted back down and reused. So when we think about the life cycle of our electronics, there's lots of things that could happen. Yes, some of it does just get thrown away because it can't really be reused easily. Otherwise, some of those materials can be recycled, typically some of the metals. However, we could ask the question, is that e-waste really being recycled? So notice in this bar chart here, it looks like we have a long way to go in terms of what's going on with our mobile devices and whether they're being recycled or not. This is improving in some places, but let's just be aware and do some research about what actually happens to those metals. This is showing that some specific metals can be recycled easily. Some of them are not. These might be some good ones to focus your research on. But remember, you're only picking one element. Where does the e-waste go? It goes to various places. Often places that use the electronic devices are not the places that it's actually being recycled. So that's, of course, going to involve a lot of transportation costs and air pollution that goes with it. So for your project, choose one element, figure out where is it mined, how is it processed, recycled, and what are some solutions, because we need to minimize this impact. For creation options, you can make a poster on those different apps and things, a Google slide, a video. You can write a letter to a cell phone manufacturer about those different impacts. You can make a cartoon, life of a metal in your cell phone. All of those would be great options. It's totally up to you. How do you present it? You just need to make sure to include all four of those parts. So once again, number one, where it's mined. Number two, how is the metal processed? 3, how is it recycled? And what are some solutions?